There. So I'm going to be trying to take a video of this. We've got from somebody, we needed to change out our ignition, and so in changing out that, obviously it had a different key, and we got that from a guy that was parting out his old Jeep. This is Jeep Grand Cherokee, of course, and so needless to say, the locks will no longer match. So we're going to be changing those out, and I did not see really any videos about doing so, so I thought I'd try and make one. So in any case, first thing I'm going to do, the door is open, we're going to be running the battery down, so I figure I'm going to disconnect the battery, and then we'll have to remove the door panels and get to seeing about the exchange. And we will need to change out the one in the back hatch as well, because we've got a lock here also, and that will not match anymore either. So all three need to be changed, and so I'm going to shut this off, get the battery disconnected, and then bring it back up when we're ready to start on the door panel. Okay, well, hopefully we won't have too much road noise from people going by. So what we're looking at doing is we're trying to replace these cylinders. This is the one from the back hatch, and each of, come on, focus you. Each of these little things in here is showing the little notches that go up and down, the little things in the tumbler. And let's see, there's my focus. So each of these, you can see it kind of sticks up. And when we put the key in, then it straightens them out. You see how they kind of move according to the key notches, and that's how the tumbler works, and that's what allows it to turn. So we're just going to change out the tumblers in all these instead of having a locksmith go and change out all the pins. And so we got all three of the tumblers. The ones that go into the door panels here will look like this, and that basically works the locking mechanism up and down or side to side. So that's what we're doing. Now, to remove the door panel, I'm just going to show you where the screws are located. We're looking at one here underneath the handle, one here on the top of the handle, and then there are just clips all the way around. There's one in here. You'll have to remove a little plastic cover that's a little oval shaped cover. You want to remove this one up here by the rear view mirror, and one down here. Those 5 screws removed should allow the whole door panel to just be popped off. Okay, so now that the screws are out, I'm going to show you how just popping the door panel out is quite... Sure, 2 cars had to go by. Popping the door panel out is quite easy. You just have to grab behind it wherever you can reach, get underneath it with some kind of flat pry bar, or even just fingertips if you can pull it off, and then pop it away. Starting at the top could also be easy, and then once you pop it away, it's basically just little holders, little plastic holders that hold it in place. And so you're going to do that all the way around, and then the whole panel removes. And then of course you'll just need to remove this connector here by lifting up these little holders here and just unplugging the plug so it'll disconnect. Okay, so once we've got the door panel off and the plastic peeled back, then we can see right in here, that's the lock cylinder that we're going to be removing and changing out. And there's a little clip on the back side of it up against the door that holds it in place. The little clip looks something like this, and it's right now in there like this, and then we have to slide it out to pull the tumbler out. That's what's holding it in place. It's kind of spring-loaded by its shape. This is a slightly larger one that is for the back hatch. And so I'm going to be using a tool that's basically a little tiny mini crowbar that seems like it should, hopefully, do the job of getting behind and being able to pry that clip out. And so doing this is interesting, but looks like it might work. So get that right behind the clip and then just kind of pry against it, and it should basically just kind of pull right out of place. Like I say, it's kind of spring-loaded because it's holding that in, but if we just keep kind of pulling on it, and you can see it's definitely come out some, and it's almost out the rest of the way. I don't really want to drop it down in the door panel if I can help it, so I'm going to leave it the last little bit there in place and grab some pliers to grab it with, so that hopefully I don't lose it down into the panel. Okay, and you may find that some different pliers are going to work better, but once that clip is out, then we can go ahead and then that cylinder will actually move. It can be kind of pushed through the actual door itself. You can see there's little notches in there that allow it to be pushed out, and once it can be pushed out, you can start to see some daylight through there, and then we can remove the rod that's holding it down below here, which is probably nearly impossible for you to see on the video, but there's a place where the little rod's plugged into the locking mechanism down below, and some of that you're going to have to just do by feel essentially, but that's how to get that tumbler released. And of course, to put the new one in is going to be just the reverse of what we're doing here. Looks like there's one more thing worth noting here. On the end of that cylinder, this has some wiring that's actually connecting up there, and I have a feeling that that is for the alarm system. A lot of these Jeeps, let's turn a light on here, that might help, but a lot of these Jeeps had an automatic alarm system that would turn on, and it would disable the ignition if the battery got disconnected, or if an attempt was made to open the door or something in the wrong way. And the way to disable that was by turning the key in one of the doors a couple of times, and that would technically it's supposed to be once, but it would usually take a couple of times, and that would show the alarm that you had a key to the vehicle and therefore disable the alarm. This little thing that says, has a little R on there, that needs to be pulled off of the end of this. I will not be reinstalling that because I have already taken the alarm system out of this vehicle because I hate those things. So anyway, that's what I believe that wiring is right there. And you may or may not have that. If you don't, then probably the back end of your cylinder will just look something like this instead. So there's the cylinder, and this is the little mechanism that moves up and down, and that's moved up and down by the key, and it has a pull rod that's hooked up to it, which we'll show in a minute. So this is just to show that little electronic thing I was talking about. It basically slips right on that little part there, slips right over the end of the tumbler, which you can see is kind of shaped. I can't get it to focus right here. Too busy focusing on the other stuff. So anyway, that slipped. It was right on that end, and so pulled that off to get the whole tumbler out. And now I'm putting the new one back in. It's going to go in just like this. Put that plastic little tab first, and then this whole thing is going to go in. And there are notches around the sides, as you can see, so that it will fit in properly. And those are different sized, so it can't really go in completely wrong. Each of the notches is a different size around the edge for those to lock in, these around here. And then this little thing here it has a push rod that will still be kind of hanging in the door most likely. And that, the way that goes in, this needs to be out like that. And then this is going to be sticking up and leaning out, so you're just going to push this in this hole, and that's going to clip over to hold that on. Of course, for taking the other one out, it's going to work the same way. So to get it out, you just pop that off, and then this rod comes right out. Then you can pull the cylinder out of the hole. Thing I just noticed, the tumbler that I pulled out, this one here, you notice the little arm catch thingy is on this side for actually locking and unlocking. And on the one that I'm going to be putting in, the Jeep it came out of, for some reason it was on the opposite side. It's possible that it was out of the other door or something. And so what I could do is I could use the one on the other door. It's a different color, but that also has it on the right side. So that's something that you may run into. Of course, that could also be switched out if necessary to be flipped over. What you don't want to do is try and flip this over the other side just like that to solve the issue, because that would open up this chamber where the cylinder is to get a lot of dust and debris and stuff in, and that could possibly clog up your locking mechanism. So there's kind of a stripe along here of some corrosion and dirt and such, because it's going to collect on top first. And so you definitely don't want that going into the cylinder if at all possible. So I'm going to check out and see. Likely I'm just going to go ahead and use this one that is from maybe the different color in the old Jeep for some reason, but it should still work properly because it's mounted on the correct side for what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to see if we can get this zoomed in the right spot here. And what I'm going to be doing, we're going to put in this new or replacement cylinder. It's not really new, but once we put that in, need to have it oriented properly, and then of course that rod is going to go into the top portion, and the rod's just kind of leaning up against the back here, and it won't really pull very far forward, as you can see, because it's not meant to. It's meant to only mount in that proper position. So I'm going to put this into the hole, and we're going to orient it so that this there's two knobs, the one in the middle and one at the top. I'm going to mount it in that same way so that it comes all the way in, and you have to kind of fiddle it until it gets in the right, and you can see how it just fits in perfectly that way. And then of course the clip is going to mount in behind it. I'm going to get this metal rod into place, which I know you can't see, and I can't either, so it's just something that has to be kind of done by feel. And you might be able to see around a little, but there's no way I'm going to get the camera back there. Let's see if I can get that rod into that hole. And then I'll have to lock that clip over the rod once I can actually get the rod in the hole in the first place. But it's kind of difficult if you can't see the rod. There we go. If I tilt my head over enough, I can see the rod. Looks like I almost got it in the right spot. Let's see here. Oops. Now, I've got the rod in the almost the right spot. I think what I might need is some more light. Probably help the situation. This is the most exciting part of the video, I know, but unfortunately nothing much I can do to change it because I cannot even really see what I'm doing. Let's see if we got that rod into place there. It looks like the rod is in the hole. Now, if I can get the little locking mechanism, the plastic maneuvered down and pushed on. There it goes. So now that is in place to operate, and so we should be in good shape to put our clip on. And this clip here, let's see if we can get some more light on the situation for you. There we go. So this clip is going to be going basically like this, around and sticking underneath the little knob on the bottom and on the top. There's little slide notches, so you can see how that kind of locks into place, and then it's just going to have to be pushed in all the way until it locks that whole mechanism on. So we're going to push it all the way on, but first I'm going to grab my key and test the lock just to make sure it's working properly, and then we'll go ahead and just put whatever tool in there is going to work to just push this all the way in, and that'll be done.